more life points in Yu-Gi-Oh? So that's a question that I'm going to be having today, and I'm going to be looking over and deciding if, this is a valid point. It got me thinking recently. We're coming to a format where, pendulums are pretty much taken over. And pendulums are only going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, especially with Bosch coming out. And if you've seen some of that stuff coming, woo, we're in for a ride. That stuff is crazy. So I was thinking, the whole pendulum mechanic thing itself gives rise to things like OTKs as being sort of standard, or making big unbreakable boards. Like, these things have become sort of like standard today. Like, that's what your deck needs to do. And like when magicians come out in Friday, what am I talking about? In December, that's what we're gonna see. We're gonna see that as sort of the standard procedure. Like, you're gonna be having to play a deck where you need to make a big board or go second and break your opponent's board and kill them, or at least put them on no resources by spinning their scales and all this kind of stuff. So I was thinking, how many times have you been looking at your hand, or even to the extent where you've shown your opponent, or maybe you've got friends, and you kind of you all sit there and you try to look at your hand together, and you both, or as a group, you look at your hand and you try think what could I have done in this situation to win? You know what I mean? For example, back in Infernity format or something, you would have a barrier and 2 breaks and double Archfiend and a Key Beetle protecting barrier or something like that, right? And you start your turn and you look at it and you go, what could I have done there to win? And a lot of the time you find that sometimes it's just you couldn't have won no matter which decision tree you took. Any sort of path you took in playing those 6 cards available to you, nothing you could have done would have won you the game, regardless of what you did. And it's not your fault as a player. It's just you could blame deck building to an extent, but at the same time we could argue that your opponent just had the better cards, the better first turn play. So back to the main topic of the question is, well, why did that happen in the first place? What if maybe if there were more life points in the game, I would have time to draw into my outs. I would be able to get a chance to see a Raigeki or something, or an extra combo piece to my 2-card combo. These kind of things all together. If I just had a couple more turns, then I could have done something to my opponent's board. I wouldn't have won, but I would be able to compete with what's on the field right now. So essentially, doubling the life points has a lot of good arguments. Number one, it's been 8,000 since the beginning of the game, right? You remember back in the day when the biggest busted combo legal that you could do would be apart from FTKs and stuff like that, right? The best play that you could hope for in an average deck would be a BLS attacking over something. That would be the biggest damage you could put on board back in the day, right? And now we're in a a 2-card combo does 15,000 damage. Do you know what I mean? That's what some of the things that are possible in this day and age. And it's nothing has changed over the time to compensate for power creep. The game's been around for 10 years or something, right? And when you just consider the fact that really nothing has been done to compensate for the power creep. So that's argument number one, the fact that nothing's changed, right? So surely something else would change with it, and that being the life points, right? Because things are doing more damage, it would make sense to at least keep the ratio equal. So that's one argument. Another argument would be, like I said, giving players a chance to see cards that they've built in their deck. You can side 3 or 4 cards for a matchup and then not see any of your side cards in games 2 and 3. That happens, right? And usually those games don't last long because you haven't seen those side cards. So I think giving players More life points means the duel obviously lasts longer. If the duel lasts longer, it means you're going to be seeing cards that are essential to your strategy, right? So that's argument number 2. Argument number 3, I'm not really keen on OTKs. So this one's a bit subjective. I don't think you should be able to perfect your opponent. You know what I mean? I don't think there should be a way to do that much damage. Like, I don't think you should be able to die in one turn, right? So I think that anything that does, if there's any combo in the game that does 8,000 damage, could be banned, but that would be a bit ridiculous because there are so many things in the game that would do 8,000 damage. So that's not a plausible option. We can't ban everything that does more than 8,000 damage, right? So to compensate, why not just double the life points? Like, let's say you have 16,000 life. How many combos can do 16,000 damage? Literally nothing consistently, right? So we wouldn't have to worry about that. So my argument for number 3 is a little bit subjective, and I can see reasons against that totally. Like, OTKs are part of the game. That is a strategy. That is a legitimate way of, strategizing, right? Is OTKs are, part of the game, and that should be one legal strategy, right? It makes sense. And then on the other side, which is the side I kind of lean towards, is the fact that, I don't think you should be able to end the game in one turn because it's a duel, right? And when you think of a duel in your head, you think of like back and forth, some mind games going on, trading of resources. You have this back and forth connotations of a duel in your mind. Maybe that's just me. That's how I see it, right? So I don't think you should be able to kill your opponent in one turn. And what's the best way to do that? Well, like I said, you can ban all the things that do lots of damage, which would have major implications. So we'd be banning like a lot of combos and cards. Or the easier route would just be to like double life points, because very few decks can put out like more than 16k consistently. Like, I know Madoch has like a 2-card 15,300 combo, which is like, I think that's fine because like that's sort of what the deck does, because you do have to play bad cards to like reach that stage, like Pudding Cess. Like, you don't want to draw that. You don't want to draw a Gem Knight. Like, it compensates for itself, so it's not consistent. But at the same time, it's like, should that happen, it can be a little bit unfair, because sometimes you can just lose to your hand. You might be told to go first as a player, and you simply don't have anything in your hand that would stop, that kind of level of damage, right? And for 2 cards, I think that's pretty silly, right? No one should be able to put that much damage out with 2 cards. So I don't think it's overpowered, but I think that to compensate, like I said, I believe that we shouldn't be able to kill each other that quickly. So that's 3 main arguments for raising the life points. Arguments against, I've kind of already highlighted. So number 1, you would have like, well, OTKs are part of the game. You should be able to OTK your opponent because that is a legitimate strategy. Some decks are control oriented, some decks are like OTK oriented, right? That's just how a lot of them work. And yeah, I can totally understand that point, and that's a legitimate view. An argument against would be, I had this written down somewhere, but I didn't keep it for this. I can't think of many arguments against, right? But I think that argument is like strong in and of itself. The fact that you should be able to like OTK your opponent as part of your strategy, right? And I think that's pretty much all I got. I can't really think of anything else. I'm just gonna take like a minute here to like just sit and like think about it. No, I can't think of anything. But if you can, let me know. And I think I would like to see like what arguments you would think that should be against raising the life points. Like, why do you think that we should not raise the life points? Because I think that there's more positive arguments to raising the life points, right? But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got. So moving on to other subject, I would like to do a subscriber sort of Q&A thing. I might be at 2,000 just now, or I'm hitting it soon, but that's a lot of subscribers for me, considering how I don't put in much effort into this, unfortunately. But at the same time, it's only been like a year, and I've only got like 100 videos done in that time. But I would like to do something sort of special. So I was thinking maybe the best thing would be like a Q&A or something, but I don't really know like what you could ask me that you couldn't find on Google or ask from a better player. Do you know what I mean? But it could be fun. At least like you can laugh at like my ideas and shit. So if you have any sort of question Yu-Gi-Oh related or whatever whatsoever, post it in the comments. Like it could be like, what is your favorite deck of all time, or what do you think is the most fair deck of all time, or uh, what do you think is the best deck for this upcoming format? I'm just giving you ideas, right? It could be pretty much anything Yu-Gi-Oh related. If I will obviously highlight if I'm not probably, well, like I'll say now, I'm probably not qualified to answer like most of those questions, but like I said, it'll be a bit of a laugh. I can entertain you by suggesting that Fire Fist are a good contender for YCS Leo, these kind of things. um, and yeah, so I think that's all I got for you. Thanks everyone for watching as usual. Comment, like, subscribe. Please leave your questions down below. Hopefully, if I get like a good number of them, then I'll make another video maybe later tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe at the end of the week. It just depends like how many questions I get and how long it will take to get them. So number one, if you have any arguments against raising life points, let me know down below. If you have questions, let me know. And number three, thank you for all your continued support, etc, 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 all that stuff. I'm not gonna sit here and cry my eyes out and say I wouldn't do anything without you guys. I wouldn't, but like thank you. So that's like all I gotta say. So I'm gonna stop waffling now and I'll sign out. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Come, face me. Give in to your pride.